Hey everyone, this is the first video in the series Microsoft Certified Data Analyst Associate, and I'll just take you through the topics I will be covering with this one. So let's start. So just a brief overview. This is for the PL 300 exam. We will start by learning how to set up Power BI Desktop and the Power BI service. So we learn how to log into the Power BI service. And then we'll talk about the measured skills. So how to prepare the data. So you need to import the data into the Power BI file before you can do any form of visualization or analysis. So you need to bring the data in, and that constitutes 15 to 20% of this weightage for the exam. Modeling the data. So once you bring the data in, you need to join the tables so your slices work. So that constitutes 30 to 35%. Visualizing and analyzing data. So what are the right visuals to use? How to go about that? And once you've built your Power BI file, how do you deploy and share it with other people? So where do you deploy it? What's the best way to share it? So that is what we will cover here as well. So data preparation phase. First thing is that you need to identify and connect to the data source, and Power BI gives you the opportunity or the ability to connect to multiple sources even outside of, so you can see Excel, Power BI datasets, Power BI data flows. But if you click on more, you can see more options as well. You can scrape the web. You can get data from different data sources, and you can change the data source settings. So you can do an import or a direct query. You can select the storage mode here. So as you can see, we've got the import and the direct query mode. Then get data from different sources. So you select a shared data set or create a local data set. You can use the Microsoft Dataverse. You can change the values in the parameters to connect to different data sources. You can connect to a data flow. You will learn how to profile the data. So you can see how many values are valid, how many errors are there, how many rows are empty. So you can profile your data. You can resolve the inconsistency. So you can decide how you want the nulls to handle. So you can say value, you can find null and replace it with something, or you can find an incorrect data and replace it with something. So you can do that here. You can evaluate and transform the column type. So you can see, you can decide what are the column types that you want, or the data types you want to use for a particular column. Then once you've done that, you want to clean, transform and load the data. So identify and create appropriate keys for the joins. You shape and transform the tables. You can combine multiple queries. You can use, so you can change the names if the names are not intuitive enough. You can configure the data loading. So there are options for that. And you can resolve if there are any importing errors. So you can see those data import errors, and you will learn how to resolve them. So this is the data model. Power BI guidance is to normally have a dimensional model or a star schema. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how to configure table and column properties, design and implement role-playing dimensions. So I've already told you, design and data model that uses a star schema, which is what Power BI recommends because it's a columnar database which works really well with a star schema. How to create a common date table and what are the benefits of using date table. We'll discuss that. We'll learn to create calculated tables. We'll learn to create hierarchies so we can drill up and drill down those hierarchies and see how the numbers operate. You can create calculated columns. You will learn how to implement row level security roles. And then we'll also learn and talk about the Q&A feature, so you can type questions in English language and get the results. You will learn how to define the relationships between tables, so it could be a one-to-many or many-to-many, and also the direction, so you can have bidirectional filtering enabled or unidirectional. So moving on, we've already covered this. And then you will learn how to create basic measures by using DAX. So we will discuss some of the useful DAX measures. We'll learn how to use time intelligence using DAX, how to use filters, replace implicit measures with explicit measures, and we'll talk about that as well. We'll talk about some of the statistical functions. We'll talk about semi-additive measures in Power BI. We'll also talk about how to create quick measures. Moving on. We'll learn how to optimize the model performance. So if you're getting a lot of data, sometimes the Power BI file can become sluggish. So to optimize the performance, you can remove unnecessary rows and columns. You can check what measures are taking a lot longer to calculate and if there's a way to simplify it, if there are any visuals which are causing performance issues. We'll learn how to we'll reduce the cardinality levels to improve performance, so we'll talk about that. We'll learn how to add visualizations and choose the appropriate visualization types. And these are all the topics that the Power BI exam covers, so we'll go through all of them. We'll learn how to format and configure visualization. We'll use custom visuals and how to apply a custom theme. We'll learn about conditional formatting, slicing and filtering, how to configure a report page. We'll also talk about using an Analyze in Excel feature, and we'll talk about when to use paginated reports. We'll learn to manage tiles on a dashboard. So we'll talk about what is a dashboard in Power BI as a concept and how to manage tiles there. We'll talk about the mobile view in Power BI. We'll use the Q&A feature, which we've already spoken about. We'll learn about how to do quick insights, which is a very powerful feature. So you can use algorithms to find patterns in your data. We'll learn how to apply a dashboard theme, and we'll learn how to pin a live page to a dashboard. We'll learn to configure bookmarks. What is a bookmark? We'll learn about custom tooltips. We'll learn about what interactions among visuals mean, and we'll learn how to edit and configure them. We'll learn to navigate a report. We'll learn to apply sorting and syncing slicers. We'll also learn how to group and layer visuals by using the selection pane. Drill down into data using interactive visuals. So you can drill down from one visual to another as well. So we'll probably explore that as well. How to export the report data. So if you want to download some of the data which is available in the desktop and maybe do something else from there. We'll also design reports for mobile devices and what is that and what we need to be aware of. So we've already analyzed feature in Power BI. We'll learn to identify outliers. We'll learn to choose between continuous and categorical access. We'll learn about groupings, binnings, and clustering. We'll learn about the AI visuals in Power BI. We'll learn how to use the forecast feature, and we'll learn to create reference lines. We'll learn to talk about a gateway. So this is the Power BI gateway, and whether it's the enterprise mode or the personal mode, we'll talk about that. We'll learn how to schedule a data refresh. We'll again go and discuss about row level security, which becomes very relevant when you start sharing data with people who gets to see what depending on their role. Who should have access to what data sets, whether they can reuse them or not. We'll talk about how to manage global options for files. We'll talk about workspaces. So workspaces is where you can share your Power BI reports. So how to configure those. We'll talk about the roles for those workspaces. We'll talk about how to configure and update a workspace app. We'll talk about how to publish, import, or update assets in a workspace. We'll learn about sensitivity labels in a workspace. We'll learn how to configure subscriptions and data-driven alerts. We'll learn how to certify Power BI content or promote it. So let's go back. So that's pretty much it. That's what we intend to cover. And I hope it adds a lot of value to you. So stay tuned and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, I'll take all these topics up as we go along. So I hope you find this new course interesting. Cheers. Bye.